So, vaccines. Such a topic, such a juicy, juicy...
No, wait. Yeah, wait for it. We'll still not. But I want to just comment on the...
I have to...
on the... Sorry. On the topic of the mark of the beast before we move on to the juiciest part of the episode. We're... That didn't sound good.
That was the air purifier that automatically turns off.
That did not sound good. They're poisoning us with something.
They're poisoning us with 5G frogs.
Listen, I really liked how one priest defined the beast, and I literally got shivers right now. The beast is any system that runs independently of its necessary human components that humans in the end cannot stop, even though they sort of made it. And do you know the Castlevania game series?
Yes.
Okay. One of the series hallmarks are very creative bosses. And in one of the most popular games in the series, Symphony of the Night, you fight the demon Legion, and the way that the Legion is portrayed in the game is really like original. It is like this tentacled monster that is covered in shell of dead bodies, and as you strike him, these bodies fall to the ground and raise the zombies, or are zombies to begin with, does not matter. So basically the demon is protecting himself with his corpses. But what I found interesting is that one of the names for this boss wasn't Legion, but Granfaloon. And I'm like, what's a Granfaloon? I mean, the word doesn't mean anything, so I Google it. And I really like the definition of it. Granfaloon is any organization that gives a false sense of community. Okay, now the hairs are standing, and I'm like, that is what Beast is. Like, it is, for example, you have this big company, this big evil company, say Google. Google will practically always exist, you know, unless every person in Google takes some extremely drastic action, like I'm quitting, I'm destroying all of the data. But we know that humans will never do that. There will always be at least one person, and God grant that it's only one person, but we know that we will be more, who will be, no, I'm going to step into this whirlpool and vortex of evil and opportunity and money and power. And that is why I, today on Twitter, I argued, I mentioned offhandedly that there is this Orthodox website, I'm going to name it, that is pro-killing of heretics and gays. And I'm like, that's a silly site, don't visit it. And I got like 2 messages, which I was shocked, that said, who were like, you don't think that an Orthodox state should kill Orthodox and gays? And of course, this happened right before I went to the liturgy of for the Dormition of the Mother of God, and I was like, I was really trying hard to concentrate on the Divine Liturgy, but and that is what I dread about this power, imposing your will on somebody is the Satan's tool. I mean, Satan can entice and seduce and all. But he also, when able, imposes his will. That is why we have demonic possession, but we never had angelic possession. Like, only in the weirdest Protestant sects, but even though I dislike calling them Protestants, like, they sort of came out of Protestantism, but I think they're, like, too weird to be honestly called Protestant. You have, like, concept, oh, I was possessed by an angel, and he or she told me to write. But in entire corpus of Orthodoxy, I apologize, Orthodoxy, Catholicism, Anglicanism, whatever, I never heard of an angel possessing you. And that is by like Christianity is a religion of the heart. And it is its primary battleground and tabernacle. That is where you fight, and that is where Christ reigns. Christ doesn't really reign at the state level, he does in the kingdom of God, and that is what makes the kingdom of God. And we can sort of have like some similar experiments, but I believe honestly that they fail miserably. And as Saint Constantine said it best, when somebody asked him, why are you delaying your baptism? He said, well, I'm delaying it because as a Christian, I can't do things that I must do as an emperor. Later Christian emperors had absolutely no issue doing unchristian things as Christian emperors, even though I think that they were still better emperors for being Christian. But I never liked Christianity using power, because I always thought of it as an expression of powerlessness. Like, you're burning a heretic. Why? Is your preaching weak? Are you a bad homilist? So you resort to murder? I mean,
I'll tell you this. First of all, free will. God gave us free will, so I don't see him going and changing that, and just like,
yeah.
I'll fix this guy, send an angel to possess him and, prevent him from jumping off the bridge, That's not it. The truth of the matter is, by doing good, meaning basically by listening to God, fulfilling his commandments, respecting God, the church, etc., etc., you inevitably get the feeling, you get grace, and you feel that, and you get a pre-taste of heaven. You're basically getting a message. This is what awaits you for eternity.
Yeah.
I know that's the other thing is sweet, but this is what awaits you in eternity. And you know what that is? It's unexplainable peace and love towards everybody, which is ridiculous. You can't get that without God. Like, you can't. But if you ever had a powerful prayer, that's what you felt. You were capable of loving every single soul and every single enemy. Wow, that's a pre-taste of heaven. Yeah. And that's the tool God uses. In my opinion, that wouldn't need to influence our free will, and it would be against the way he created us and the way I believe he wants us to exist. So back to that, right? We talked about that because what's beast, right?
Yeah.
And we inevitably come to the same conclusion. It's forfeiting choice. It's forfeiting choice. And it's the exact equivalent of what people do when they sacrifice themselves in Christianity. But it's for a different reason. Because when you forfeit your choice to God, you do it out of love. When you forfeit your choice to whatever the beast is going to be, you do it out of interest, out of comfort, out of commodity, that's the whole difference. And that's why you're also right on topic when you say it's about false community, right? Because you know that community in church is a community of love. It's based on love, 100%. Well, it's not 100% because humans are not,
well, we're sinful. Passions get riled up and everything.
I've caught myself too many times thinking about somebody from the church, look at this guy, and then oh my God, confession paper. What I'm trying to say is, it is based on love, but we break it because we are broken ourselves.
By the way, what you said, we're the true community of love. I want to mention this. There are these two Orthodox YouTubers. I don't want to name names, but they had a beef online, and it was pretty public. And even though these two individuals are like polar opposites in every conceivable way, they still made peace. And I think personally that it would be practically impossible without the power of Christ. Of course, they had to work with it. They had to work with grace. Agreed. But that would not have come about if we ultimately aren't based on Jesus Christ.
It doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen often. Like when you meet people who are like open for dialogue, even when you like completely, utterly disagree, but they remain open for dialogue, and you end up on a note such as like respectfully disagreed. Thank you for the conversation. Thank you for the point of view. Those kind of I've seen that recently online with, I think there was a conversation between Russell Brand and Jordan Peterson a couple of years ago. It was like they disagreed in a whole lot of aspects, but they were super respectful towards each other, and that's what.
It is so beautiful.
That's what people were talking about. Nobody mentioned the topics at all. Everybody was talking about this is how you respectfully have a dialogue, which is like it's very uncommon nowadays, because nowadays what's common is well, I don't want to.
You're a racist. You're a Marxist.
I don't want to mention names. Like I had a lengthy discussion with my colleague and friend, like literally 2 days ago, and we ended up talking 1.5 hours instead of 5 minutes on the topic, because we talked about the fact that how people just assume a lot of things and immediately try to put you, you're left, you're right, you're a liberal, you're a libertarian, you're a traditionalist, conservativist, Republican. There's so many different levels, and people don't understand that you can be a bit of everything, and that you can't 100% actually be something. Like I know this based on myself, because I am a traditionalist. I'm conservative, yet I'm very like a liberal. I'm very like pro freedom. Usually like how people envision things. If you're conservative, you're the far right. You're like the far right, and it's like, whoa, hold on. But I'm actually, you can't go lefter than how I left I am, and that's like. It's very hard to have any sort of a dialogue when you're not ready to accept those very, very simple facts. So I actually wholesomely appreciate what we just went through. Because we kind of touched on so many I believe very valid points. And ended up with some really great conclusions. So I really appreciate this, Pete. And I think it will be a good time for us to kind of just stop because I don't want to.
Are we not going to do the juicy part?
I don't want to turn this into like a 3-hour episode.
Oh no, we can do like we can go like quickly go through this, the juicy part. For all of you good souls who have stayed so far.
It's it's an intense conversation, but it had to have happened, sooner rather than later.
Okay, we have ended with the useful part, in the sense useful for your salvation. Now we come to the fun part, which is totally useless to your salvation. Might be even tad damaging, but No. There's we are going through the list. Now, what we planned, I'm going to read individual conspiracy theories, with each of us giving a brief opinion on it. Okay, are you ready?
I'm so ready. I was never ready.
Okay. 5G will kill us all.
Yeah, that was the first one.
Do your engineering magic.
Yeah, so there's little.
Aliens made us. Just kidding. Go on.
There's little difference between 4G and 5G in terms of how it's going to influence our health. So if you didn't protest 4G, then there's no point in protesting 5G. Yes, I fully agree that we never had enough studies, and we will never have them, because interest in companies and organizations, and they pay for research that works for them and for their narrative. So we are very, very under researched in terms of how things that we take for granted, such as Wi-Fi, how they influence our health. Think about that. So in general, it's not about 5G. It's about technology and the fact that, and we already mentioned this before, things boomed technology-wise because of the internet. Things boomed, and we weren't ready, and now it's too late. I don't expect that anytime soon somebody will actually do a fair, detailed, lengthy research on the effects of not only the networks that we use to connect with our phones, but also on things such as Wi-Fi, which if you live in a residential building, for example, you're exposed to a lot of Wi-Fi's. Just you take your phone and check how many Wi-Fi's are visible to you. Many of them hide their SSIDs, so you can't even know that they're there. And all of your devices in your home, like every cell phone you have, tablet, nowadays even TVs and fridges and whatnot, they all have their own Wi-Fi modules that throw basically a form of radiation.
Spells.
So we are very under researched here, but based on what we can know, there's absolutely no discussion about that. 5G.
I will just say about 5G. Literally every person who's into technology, like who understands it, does not buy this. Like that, it will kill us more than the technology that we had previously. Like that's all I'm going to say.
So that Next one is like 100%
dislike. Aliens made us.
I think I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less. I know that I was given birth by my mother. And I know that I was raised by my father, and that's about it. And that's about as much as I need to know.
Yeah.
So let's use this. Let's use this for irrelevant.
Irrelevant. I found this totally ridiculous. Like and the reptilian one. That one, I think even the Middle East.
Lizard people.
Lizard people. Yeah.
That was super funny. Actually.
Okay. Chemtrails pour harmful substances on population at large.
On a general note, I think yes.
Yeah.
I think yes. Just because these are in the sense
on purpose, like
on purpose, no.
They're
like biological warfare kind of thing. No,
sort of.
That's okay. But I mean the way cars pollute is ridiculous. Again, especially in Serbia. You know what they do in Serbia? You know what they do in Serbia? For example, diesel fuel is like the worst in terms of pollution. So the reason why diesel engines, like cars with diesel engines, always used to cost more, and now they're starting to not make them anymore. I drive a diesel car. The way it costed more, the reason it costed more is because the technology for cleaning the particles that go out is so much more complex and more expensive. And you know what people do here in Serbia? Because there's very little real regulation. When the thing breaks, instead of paying a hefty sum to replace it with a new one, they just remove that part, and the car just throws ridiculously polluting, smoke into the environment, and it's so ridiculous. I hate that, but that's what they do. So yeah.
By the way, next time I hear chemtrails are poisoning us, I will say, you mean like a car?
Well, that's what I was going for. If the conspiracy theory was chemtrail is, I'm pretty sure it's very polluting and very not good.
By the way, I remember chemtrails on Sky since I was a kid. I don't know why it took it for so long for this, because the way I heard it was, we never get used to see these chemtrails. Where did they come from? But I remember them ever.
Internet.
Okay, fine. Next one. Death of JFK did not play out as presented to the general public.
Is that like the theater of the magic bullet thing?
For example, I didn't even read on that one. I just included it for.
it's we'll let our listeners from the United States vote on this one. It's just closer. Okay. I just don't think about that. I can't say I care much how Kennedy was assassinated. Am I a bad person for saying this?
Well, I mean, it does not have much bearing on your daily life. Yeah. We have something for our audience from Great Britain and other islands. The royal family is responsible for the death of Lady Di.
Could be.
I'm plausible. Like, maybe. Yeah, I didn't want to go into probable.
Yeah, plausible definitely.
Is...
I mean, I think they dug out a lot of like their dirty laundry in terms of relationships they have between them. So it's plausible. I mean, did the driver die?
I think so. I don't even remember. I think
that
so. Yeah, I think
kind of decreased.
From plutonium poisoning.
So, well, plausible? Is that okay?
There's something about Epstein that I'm going to mention earlier that can sort of work with Lady Di too. New World Order. There are cabals that secretly run the world, generally to the detriment of humanity. These include, but are not limited to, the Freemasons, Illuminati, the Jews, Rosencreutzes, and so on.
Well, first, I'm going to do a thumbs down because I don't think that any sort of a visible organization is running the world.
Precisely.
But I already mentioned, I strongly believe there's, people, powers that be, sort of people, all kinds of different individuals from different corporations and governments and whatnot who absolutely do things behind the world curtains, but not in a way that it's like they're Masons or the Jews or something. I'm like, no.
George Soros is to blame.
He is to blame for a lot of things. I mean, I'm gonna give him a thumbs up. Like,
I'm like, okay, he is to blame for a lot of things, but I sort of feel that he's often used as the general boogeyman in the public. Even for
he finances so many different narratives in the world. He is a publicly known manipulator. So absolutely, blame Soros. Yes, 100% blame.
By the way, I was talking to a friend of mine which works for this NGO, and this NGO is literally financed by Soros. And I tell him, can you imagine? They accuse me that I work for Soros. I mean, I did not get a dime from the man. And he's like, yeah, but I'm like literally working for Soros. And I like, can you imagine the nerve? Okay, the next one. The mark of the beast will be a chip.
Well, plausible.
And you left a comment in the document. Makes sense though. Yeah, it does. There will be a race war in the United States.
A race war? No.
A race as in different races, as in skin colors, not as in the car race.
But
it will be more cool.
No, but there's something that I agree with some people. And I'm gonna quote somebody. I'm gonna quote somebody. If he ends up listening to this, which I don't think he will, he might recognize himself. As many great empires of the past, the end of the United States will come from within. There is gonna be a war, I think. What sort of war, what type of a war, and who's going to wage it, I don't think it's going to be a racial war. I think that's ridiculous. I gotta say, with all the issues that we are seeing, especially today, that have escalated, you can't say that, for example, blacks and whites don't get along. You just can't. You just can't.
Yeah. I'm sort of the opinion that there might be some sort of huge, weaponized clash that may be presented like a race war, but it will be a narrative war.
Exactly. But
that will simply use the
you
race
have white
as props.
supremacists, you have Antifa, you have different groups, right? So groups, they might wage war on one another, but races, I don't think so. Maybe some of these groups will be homogenous in terms of race, but still it's not going to be a racial thing. That's an opinion, so no.
Okay. White genocide. The powers that be want to reduce the number of white people.
Where did you dig that one out?
Oh, that's a popular one.
I never heard of it. I did hear about the golden billion.
Yeah, but the nice thing about the golden billion is that it's colorblind. Actually, I didn't include the golden billion.
I think that's a more
here. Probable one than.
Well, can I comment on that one and you can comment on the other one?
Sure. Well, I wikied the golden billion because I wanted to do that for so long and I always forget.
I gotta say, I think that is a plausible theory. We've been told very, very often that the Earth doesn't have enough resources for humanity, especially food. Which is, I think, an absolute ridiculous statement because our resources.
It's totally
our resources are not even remotely utilized in terms of food production as they could be.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is a part of a narrative, like you have a huge company like Monsanto, for example, who produce seed, and this is common knowledge. The seed, when you plant it, it grows into a plant, and you don't get more seed from the plant. You have to buy more seed from the company.
Okay.
So. Congratulations on your business model, you mean bastards.
No. But wait. Now I will use information against you. Have you thought about why that might be besides profit?
Well, honestly, no. Simply because I'm telling you, business for profit. I'm a C-level. In a company, and I've seen things from competitors that you wouldn't believe how bad people can be. That's all I'm gonna say, because people believe when it's a race between businesses, everything is allowed. So I'm telling you, when it's business for profit, trust me, there's been temptations not to be Christian, very, very, very many a times.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, but the reason which I find more than probable, and that these seeds are intentionally kept sterile, in order so that these tempered plants won't enter the ecosystem. What you plant is what you get. It will wither away. It won't influence any other generation of a plant.
Okay, you mean there's not going to be a mutated next generation of that?
Precisely, it's not going to spread. It's contained, and I think
that's problematic as well.
As we would say in Serbia, this is a combination of useful and beautiful. Sorry.
That's problematic as well, because that means you don't. Because that means you don't have a plan. You don't. There's a whole part, a whole dimension of genetically modifying. Yeah.
How do you mean you don't have a plan? Plan for what?
Not plant. Plan.
And then that's what I wanted to say. Plan for what?
You have this whole dimension of genetically modifying plants where you don't know where the thing could go. Right? And you're cutting it off. you're cutting it off like in a point of no, right? So it again, we go back to the fact that there's no long-term research on the effects that these genetically modified organisms actually have on our health. So we are going full circle here, B. We're going full circle. Our research would show that, because they would leave in an isolated ecosystem. They would leave it and see what happens, because it would be a legitimate part of the research. Is this okay for humans to consume?
But okay, I understand.
Man, it's for profit.
That's fine.
For profit.
But I think it's a combination of two things. Of course, the profit trumps all, but it just happens to be also useful in order for us not to inadvertently destroy our ecosystem.
Well, imagine when you're making something that could potentially destroy. Yeah. You don't do research to confirm if that would happen, and you're preventing it from doing so. I don't know. I mean, it's fine. Everybody can draw their own conclusions. It's perfectly fine. But in general, to go back to the original conspiracy theory, which is, the golden billion, I call that one very plausible, simply because you can actually find this information. But you will see countries like France, for example, testing drugs and vaccines in Africa. So,
somebody said on some of our news sites, like they're beginning to test vaccines in Africa, something along those lines, and somebody left the best comment. Whenever I hear words vaccine and Africa, I shudder,
Well, like, you understand. It's like people are very bad, and the worst thing about it is they come to a very poor country in Africa and they present this as the cure. They don't educate people there in terms of this vaccine can be wrong. This vaccine can create problems. We're using you as test subjects. They are not telling them that. They're coming there as gods, as their saviors. So when I look at that, every single theory that includes basically controlling the population is absolutely plausible for me. So I'm giving it a thumbs up. And if we go towards there's a conspiracy to kill all the whites or reduce the number of whites, I can't really find any grounds for that, and would like to brush up on my conspiracy theories to understand what this is really about.
Okay. Going for the next one. The plan. If you haven't heard of the white genocide, you most probably haven't heard of this one either. There is a plan by white elites to reduce the number of blacks in the ruling bodies in the United States.
Well, I've never heard of it. And what's the plan? So. Kill them? What?
Well, to reduce the number of black people in the ruling bodies in the United States.
Like what's...
I don't know. I didn't open the link to read up on it. But I don't know, like evil deeds.
I'm gonna say not plausible.
Something clandestine.
Not plausible to me. Again, I don't really think there's like there is racism in the United States, but I don't think everybody's racist there. It's just, and this would actually require for a very significant portion of the population to be very racist.
Yeah, but this is that it is by white elites, so not by population at large.
I don't know. It's not impossible, but It's a bit far-fetched.
Well,
it's a bit far-fetched.
That's okay.
And you?
Jeffrey
what's
Epstein.
Your...
Well, when you have like these old money families, I can sort of see it happening.
Steel and railway money.
yeah. I sort of can see it happening. Like, but it's generally, the disdain of old money towards nouveau riche, just with maybe an added race element. So maybe, maybe it might be true. I'm not really endorsing it, but I know. Now we come to the fun one. Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself.
I mean, what is there to be said? If it looks like a chicken, walks like a chicken, talks like a chicken, I mean.
But I have two comments on this. When I wrote my definition of a conspiracy theory, it originally read, any theory that describes a conspiracy that is rejected by public at large. And I thought, like, well, wait, Jeffrey Epstein, everybody knows that he was murdered, except like the ruling bodies, the elites, and so on. So I changed it that it is any theory that is at the very least rejected by the ruling establishment and usually by the public at large, precisely because of Epstein. That's one thing. And the second thing is, it's possible that he really did kill himself. It's possible. But if he did, I find that idea so funny that he, that by that act, he pushed, okay, if he did that, sadly, we can't question him, unless we hire a very good Christian necromancer. We can question him, but
sorry, but
he has put so many.
I have to.
Please do.
We're going to avenge the death of my brother. Elf, you have my bow. Dwarf, you have my axe. Necromancer, and your brother.
I have laughed at that one for so long.
Oh, dear God.
that was one of the best epic role-playing fantasy memes I have ever seen. Okay, so I can imagine that he did kill himself. People can do that even if they're being watched and everything. I mean, I can imagine that the guards were slacking off, oh, he knows that he's being watched, he won't do it, and then they slack off and he offs himself.
No.
But no. Listen, I just think it's more than it's 99% that he was murdered, but there's this one off chance that that he did kill. But if he did, I find that so funny because in that case he in a way he prevented his testimonies from going public, but he has also in a way pushed people in hot water in a different sort of way.
Well, yes and no, because you can't find the body. There's no crime, so I understand why people cross those lines, because I think when they're not good, meaning they're evil.
Yeah.
And just FYI, Google used to have a creed "Don't be evil," which they removed. I think in 2016 or 2018. I would have to check.
Well, surprise!
But they removed it without telling anybody.
By the way, you reminded me of a friend, and she would get this cornmeal for the longest time, and she would make a cornmeal porridge out of it. And that cornmeal box had a stamp healthy food approved by Serbia. And then at one point she was making it, and she saw that the stamp was mysteriously gone. So that's sort of like Google. Like, what are you trying to tell me?
The most ridiculous thing in Serbia, you have what they refer to as the healthy food stores. Full of everything with sugar.
No, like these things like sell gummy worms, gummy bears. They're called healthy food stores because you can get like vegan stuff, nuts. Like if you're fasting in Serbia, you will go to these stores because they sell replacement everything, different milks that aren't milk, and so on and so forth.
You will go there to buy like erythritol or other sweeteners, which are not which
like xanthan gum and so on. But they also sell like these sweets that are simply sweets. They're not like like biscuits covered in chocolate and gummy bears.
Which is absolutely cannot be healthy. Like with white sugar. You know? I mean, they will probably sell something with honey and with fructose and dextrose and whatnot. But
they sell some okay sweets, but in general they are not healthy at all.
So back to the list. Back to Epstein, actually. When people are evil and they full of money and whatnot and can't, go around the normal, human circles, they tend to get bored. And I think they start by doing extravagant things, but they inevitably end up practicing like the most seductive sin, which is the sin of how would you call it? Lust. Lust. Which is the sin of lust, and they will cross. I think it's a never-ending trap. Like you keep falling into it and crossing more and more lines, and I think many of these like mighty wealthy people have crossed so many lines that the word perverse has lost its meaning somewhere along the way. So I strongly, honestly believe that a lot of people were endangered by a potential testimony by Epstein, and that they just ended it. Just that you threw. There's no weapon. There's no body. There's no crime. So.
What happened to the good old times when the worst thing that a rich person in the power would be like an alcoholic, depressed, and then they would kill themselves, and that was the
publicly again.
Well, of course, but like in the earlier times.
Let's be realistic. Lust is so hard, and now imagine that everything's unlocked for you. You can do things. You can indulge lust in a way that not many people can.
True.
I think this has been there for since ages and ages before.
But lust is much more fun when you fight against it. It's much more interesting as an opponent than as a friend.
I don't know. I guess.
Did they blow your fuse? What happened?
It's like I just went too far away, and I don't want to go there. It's
okay. So, let's move on to the happier subjects. We have cure for cancer, but it is suppressed by the elites, or to be more specific, pharmacomafia. Or some other horrible diseases.
Okay, it's not a simple answer. First of all, there's so many different forms of cancer. In order for somebody to claim that there is a universal cure for cancer, that would basically mean we would have the way to tell a malignant cell to stop being malignant. And although it's plausible to me, I don't think it's very likely. I do absolutely agree that the pharmacomafia is a real thing, that our entire medical system is designed to treat the consequences of diseases rather than diseases themselves, because in order for you to actually cure something, you need to cut it at its roots. You need to deal with the cause, and we are not. The entire industry, including the medical and pharmaceutical industry, they're dealing with the food industry is creating diseases, for example, clear as day.
Yeah.
And the medical system is treating the symptoms, not the causes. So
Okay.
I absolutely believe it's plausible because of that. But I don't think it's highly likely.
I don't think that there's like cure for cancer.
There is. God can cure cancer.
There are
I'm
two
pretty
things.
sure.
Yeah, but the important thing here is that rich elites can afford much more better doctors, expensive medicine, and in some and for example, I always like to list the example of the rich David Rockefeller, who had 6 heart transplants. How on earth do you get 6 heart
you buy
transplants
hearts from poor people?
From where? Where did these hearts come from? You
for example,
abomination.
Kosovo. It comes from Kosovo.
Surprise! And like
people don't know this because the narrative about Kosovo is very, very, very well financed. But
yeah, and even if there's no Kosovo, there's like a lot of other places you can get hearts from, like or well, not get, harvest. And this is like the top, the top. This is the bottom of the endless pit of evil. And I remember he had some interview, and somebody asked him like, how did you reach such a venerable old age? And it's the little things. Be thankful for the little, and have money for 6 freaking human hearts. And a friend of mine had a great comment: 6 hearts. This screams murder.
Absolutely. And you know what? But still, it doesn't raise the possibility that there's a cure for cancer, simply because many people, many rich people have succumbed to it. So many people who are rich enough to basically get every possible known and unknown treatment.
Oh, by the way, do you know how in Egyptian mythology how you would be judged? Okay, I will explain. So they would bring out this scale, and on one part, on the one part of the scale they would place your heart, and on the other side of the scale they would place the feather of goddess Mat, and she was the goddess of, I think, justice, and you had to follow her like, I think, 42 laws, and the feather had to be heavier than your heart, And I'm like imagining like David Rockefeller appearing, and like they're placing 6 hearts on the scale, and like you're going to the pit of the hells of the shells. Like 2 hearts is already questionable. But okay, maybe somebody donated on after like a failed surgery.
6
hearts. Whee! Enjoy the last slide you'll ever have, because that's the last joyful moment you'll ever have, you demon. Okay. AIDS/COVID-19 is man-made and is used to destroy China, world, church, or usher the New World Order.
As far as the man-made thing, to me that's plausible. We already kind of talked about that, and that goes both for HIV and COVID-19. I just want to say, the narrative that HIV was created in the United States and that it was designed as a biological weapon was actually created by the Soviets. And they really did a number on it. They really did a lot of propaganda internally for that. So that's the cause of that particular narrative, that there was United States. Like I remember when I was younger, one of the versions of this theory was that it was created to root out homosexuals because it was sexually transmitted. And I guess the assumption was that homosexuals are very promiscuous, and that it would spread very. But I honestly think it's very plausible that it was man-made. simply because of the time when it appeared and the way it spread, etc., etc. I can't say for certain what the end goal would be, but it's absolutely plausible to me. That's all I'm gonna say.
I want to comment on the conspiracy theory that
if it's clearly, it works.
No, better be safe than sorry. But I want to comment on one thing. There's a lot of conspiracy theories that COVID was designed, to destroy the church, the Orthodox Christianity, and so on.
Yeah, and then to create a situation where they would enforce vaccines, and then these vaccines would have liquid chips or something like that.
That's one facet. Yes. That's one facet. But
that's what I want to seeing here.
But I wanted to comment on two posts that were proposing this. One was this Orthodox elder or something, and he says something. Oh, this was made by the Catholics in order for us to stop venerating the holy icons and relics because the Catholics do not venerate them. And the funny thing is, the very first video on that had Catholics in it, have them kissing the relics of the Jean Vianney. The very first was them kissing a relic. So, and also there was this, people, especially in the United States, okay, I know that it's very hurtful to be deprived of the church for so long. But Serbs have been practically deprived of it for, I don't know, not exactly 600 years, but for a very long time. And you can see the coping mechanisms all around. For example, our Slava, our patron saint day. Then we have things that we call inscription trees, drvozapis, which are these trees that were blessed by a priest, but not necessarily, that had a cross carved into it, where people would come to pray. And this is clearly made because the Serbs did not have access to churches,
not to mention
during the Ottoman
detailed
rule.
Prayer cycles that we have heritage, which you won't find that anywhere else.
Yeah, and especially and even in this area, you had this custom that's called blossom communion, where people would come to this tree that was blossoming, and they would take communion from the blossoms. So they were developing this custom that was evoking the Eucharist, and you had these similar developments in some other communities. For example, the secret Christians of Japan, when they were cut off from the Catholic Church and they suffered for the long time, they developed this sort of fake mass thing that sort of reminded them of the real mass, So it is a very definite coping mechanism. So being deprived of the church is bad, but it's not. This shouldn't last a long time. And of course, there were bad actors.
You're not deprived of God. That's one thing.
Well, that's one thing. And I want to say this: entertainment industry and hospitality industry and sport industry has suffered much more than the church. These things simply stopped completely. And nothing can really, separate you from God. You can pray. And which is the most, you can fast, you can go to confession, okay, then say to God, God, I'm sorry I can't confess, please help me confess as soon as possible. God will not throw you in hell for this, and we're like the martyr church. We do get
that's a good point, sorry.
Yeah, we are the martyr church. We do get periods when we can't have communion, or our priest gets shot, or we get shot at, or there's a disruption in the distribution chain, as it were, of the Holy Eucharist.
How things, when you pull them out of context, you can really use them for anything. You just said, we are a martyr church, we have periods. If you pull that out of context, it can be. I just say it's very bad to pull things out of context. Just don't.
Okay, you had one moment like that where I was simply like, "When don't say anything," and I glazed over it. I didn't want to point it out, and it was that worse than what I said.
That is funny. You remember the time when I said I was touched by a priest? I wanted. You remember that?
we should take that part and put it as a separate video. It's just a good. And that priest has touched me.
I was touched,
and I
was
simply
touched
lost
by
it.
this priest, but you were already like
falling apart, crying.
It was a violent laugh. So
yeah.
We are left with, I think, one more on that list.
No, like 5, but let's go through it. Okay, you already said like AIDS was invented by the US to kill gays. This is a big one. Vaccines cause autism / are harmful.
I'm gonna say plausible, but before I get tagged as an anti-vaxxer, I want you to know that I was vaccinated as a kid, and my kids are both vaccinated. My problem with vaccines is of a different nature, and since it took me it took a 1.5 hour discussion about it last time I talked about it, I'm not gonna go into details right now. All I'm gonna say is vaccines are problematic because of interest and corporations and and if you lived in Serbia and if you looked at how vaccines are being procured, it's a whole nother perspective. So I believe in the vaccine in terms of its contribution and its the way it works. I absolutely believe in that. And in that sense, I fully support vaccines. There are controversial facts about vaccines that I think require public discourse. They require dialogue, public discussion, and people need to be reassured. Since there are problems, there are people very vocal about it, and these are not just common people but also medical professionals. Like here you would if you interview 10 pediatricians, and we have a big problem with pediatricians nowadays because all of them are moving, like the young ones are moving, so we are stuck with basically almost retired or getting back from retirement in order to fill in the gaps. So if you interview 10 different pediatricians, you might actually get 2 completely different opinions. 5 would be like vaccine, yes, and the 5 would be, well, there are issues. So this is again, I think, a failure from the experts to join together and create this public discourse and create this dialogue and force this dialogue and actually own it and explain to people how these things works, blah 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 blah. And then if we could remove the interest and actually if you're selling the vaccine to me as a solution, as a cure, don't sell it to me for millions and billions of dollars. Let's deal with this on a broader level. So again, this is so hard to be I can't find a way to be brief and just it's such a huge topic. But if anybody calls me anti-vaxxer, I will throw this karaoke microphone at you.
Okay. I don't generally worry about procurement of vaccines because I can in that case I can literally worry about the procurement of anything: toothpaste, coffee, my furniture, airplane fuel.
It's not the way
I'm like
how things are procured. It's the quality of the
good.
Okay.
No. That's what I meant as well.
Okay.
Precisely the quality. But I think that we're all anti-vaxxers when it comes to the new coronavirus vaccine, because it's so novel. I mean, we don't like, this disease has such varied symptoms, after effects, and so on. Then what will the vaccine do? Like, I don't plan to take it.
You should take the test that I did, by the way. Yes, I told you.
Test. Oh yeah, the blood coagulation.
It's called D-dimer.
Yes,
and
I will.
Guys, if any one of you went through corona, go do the D-dimer test and check if your blood has any issues with coagulation, because it has been proven that corona, the after effects, one of the after effects is potential blood clot. And I actually know somebody who was diagnosed with literally post-corona as the corona as the cause, and he was asymptomatic, so he didn't even like suffer from corona. He just carried the virus.
Oh man,
crazy.
Okay, and next is Bill Gates is evil. There's like a lot to unpack here, but
wow, this is definitely not a simple one. Wow. My brain went to the definition of evil.
Well, you know that he like wants to depopulate Earth or something, you know.
Claims that he's a philanthropist, and I don't believe that.
Well, you can have people who are philanthropists and are evil. Like nothing unusual about it. Sometimes even they're like very well-meaning. He
loves people, but it's like only two people.
No, he's philanthropist in the sense that he like invests a lot in like charities.
Yeah, but he targets
that there may be some darker agenda.
Charities, you know.
Okay, I don't know really.
I think his narrative was something down the lines of, I want to help humanity, and the way I've chosen to help is through vaccines, literally. And him being like a big investor into the World Health Organization,
which
things like that. Sorry,
gets attached to your previous.
Sorry,
comments.
but I don't like that. So I don't know if it's I would say that I'm 100% sure that he has an agenda, and that it's very plausible to me that that agenda has something to do with population control. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't like the guy.
To be quite honest, there's this video thrown around where he supposedly admits that he wants to depopulate Earth. I must say that I did not really understand it in that way. That maybe he simply said something along the lines, well, overpopulation can be a problem. But I must say that I never investigated.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, but I didn't really investigate the matter further. So there are probably people who are much more in the know than. I mean, there are always.
Guys, comment section is all yours if you know better.
Comments disabled. Two more. Global warming is fake. By that mean I mean man-made. Yeah.
Well, it's man-caused in that sense. Yes, it's man-caused, but not entirely. I think might be just like a cycle that the planet is going through. But it definitely draws a lot of cause from humanity, industry. I don't think global warming is a lie. I think global warming is happening.
Okay. Personally, I believe that there's truth to it, and there are a lot of financial interests on both sides on this matter.
On both sides.
So, well, like fossil fuel lobbies and green lobbies.
You think green lobby is the same power as oil and?
No. I believe that the oil lobby is much more stronger.
I mean,
personally. I mean, nobody. nobody attacked another country for their wind turbines.
Otherwise, Netherlands, you guys would be in danger.
I mean, oh God, if we only went to war for those.
Yeah. Yeah, I think global warming is real, and I think it's man caused in a lot of in a huge share.
Yeah.
I don't think it's solely man caused. But
of course. Thanks, Mount St. Helens, if you're watching this.
Competent at fully, I'm fully like explaining the topic, so that's where I'm gonna leave it.
Yeah. The last one, the Earth is flat.
Well, sorry, but
this is one of my favorite conspiracy theories because the memes on this are
the memes are good, but the best one that will actually explain my point of view.
Okay.
There's a Flat Earth Society Twitter, which used to have a description.
Yeah.
We used to have
the
a
famous
description
one
down the lines of something down the lines of educating people globally on the fact that the Earth is flat, and then let's talk about the world globally. The root of that word is globe,
and across the globe. It has members all across the globe.
It has members all across the globe. So there's too many.
My favorite.
Too many.
Yeah.
It's just I mean.
One of my favorite memes is like flat Earth lunar eclipse, and there's this full moon with like a line, a dark line on its surface. Or like a solar system, like flat Earth solar system, where there's like standard solar system, and all of the planets are like spheres.
Yeah,
except Earth,
there are like these conspiracy theories that require so many different actors to work. Like, it's just one of the things that I think you couldn't hide. Like, satellites.
Yeah.
We never mentioned quote unquote the moon hoax.
Oh yeah, I can't believe it. Okay, what do you think about that?
I don't know.
Supposedly, I haven't verified this, but if you watch Moon through a more powerful telescope, you can see the planted flag.
Perfectly fine.
That's what I read.
It doesn't mean that the flag was planted by a human being. I'm going to be very honest with you here and say I am 50-50 on that one.
Okay. I believe that it is true that the people did land on the moon, but I'm like, I don't care if they did or they didn't.
There are things that happened around that are super controversial and that make me, seriously doubt. I believe that it's possible that people didn't go to the moon.
Okay. That's it.
So I'm an anti-vaxxer and an anti. People are gonna call me anti-vaxxer now, and the anti-mooner,
that sounds bad. Change the name.
Anti-lunar.
But anti-lunar. By the way, next episode there's me and some totally random guy that nobody has seen before, and we simply start off the episode without no comment. Hi R, hi B, how are you? Like doing well.
Or it's going to be like from a scene from Inspector Gadget. The chair is going to turn around.
And it's not you.
Yeah, I think this was like a two-hour episode. We're overdoing it, and people are going to be mad.
I don't care. But no. Like, or even like with Dr. Matt from Inspector Gadget, like there's only your hand on the table, and somebody clearly trying to imitate your voice. Hi, B. That was a bad impression because you don't really sound like that, and I can't really imitate your voice. And please don't.
Okay.
Guys, thank you all for staying.
I think it's late.
For tuning in.
If you finish the episode,
for staying
it's late.
late.
Somewhere it's late.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your prayers for us and for M's father. They have been very, very well appreciated.
Huh? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, that thing. Sure.
As you know, God is good, and fortunately, and also thanks to everybody who prayed for my father. My dad is much better.
Yeah.
And, he's en route to taking care of the underlying issue that caused the problems that he had. So really, God is great. So very thankful, and we keep mentioning you in prayers on Divine Liturgy. The paper is still there up until the point where you guys can go back to church, where we will turn the tables and we'll send you papers.
Yeah.
Amen.
Okay. Bye, guys. And for those of you who use the old calendar, have a very happy and blessed feast of the Dormition of the Most Holy Mother of God. Of course, this episode will come a couple of days after the feast, but it is still before the leave taking of the feast. So we are still celebrating her resurrection and ascension.
Happy holiday. How do you say that?
Mary is risen.
This is why the Protestants talk things about the Orthodox. Yeah.
Don't like us. Oh well. Bye, guys. See you in the next one, if at all.